Starbucks CEO has apologized to two black men after they were arrested. Yep, Starbucks really screwed up this time. According to CNN, there was a bombshell revelation about Trump lawyer Michael Cohen the other day. What could that possibly be? We've got those stories and more coming up. I'm Steve Britton, and I'm speaking freely. Hello everyone, it's good to be here again. Starbucks really has gone and done it this time. Two black men in Philadelphia have met with Starbucks CEO Kevin Johnson after being arrested for trespassing. I definitely want to share my thoughts about that, but that's coming up a bit later. First though, I thought I'd talk a bit about the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion dispute between Alberta and BC, how it's spinning completely out of control, and how it might just be what Justin Trudeau was planning all along. Now, last time I talked to you about how Kinder Morgan has suspended all non-essential spending and activities on their expansion of the Trans Mountain Pipeline due to incessant opposition from the BC government and various Indigenous groups over environmental concerns. Alberta has escalated the conflict by passing a law which gives the provincial government complete regulatory control over the flow and sales of petroleum products, which means that the government, not corporations, get to determine who is allowed to transport the product, when they are allowed to transport it, and how much they can transport at a time. This policy mirrors Germany of the 1930s. The German government of the time started telling suppliers what to produce and how much to sell it for, and of course, who they could sell it to, and they punished anybody who disobeyed. I, for one, don't want a government interfering in private business. Sure, it's one thing to facilitate business activity and sanction another jurisdiction for being obstructionist. It's quite another to take control of business away from private business owners. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has jumped into the fray by saying the federal government is ready to fund the project themselves. Perfect! Now we have the federal government sticking their nose into private business as well, which means that once again, we end up with the government conducting business, adding bureaucracy, multiple levels of management, and other inefficiencies to an already regulated industry. This is not going to end well. If Notley and Trudeau were serious about getting this project moving, then they should simply tell BC that the project is happening and that the federal government will annex the land in question and force the issue to go ahead if BC won't cooperate. But no, this isn't actually about getting Kinder Morgan their pipeline expansion. This is about nationalizing the oil industry. This is just the first step towards that end goal. I know, some of you are going to start screaming conspiracy theory at me. But this is Justin Trudeau after all. He idolized Fidel Castro, and his father, Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, already made an effort to nationalize the petroleum industry in the early 1980s. It was a disaster then, and, just like in Venezuela, it will be a disaster now. God help us all. I'll be back in a second. Before we continue, I just want to send a quick shout out to my friends over at Goalscape. Now, if you're anything like me, you find yourself looking at the squirrels rather than getting your work done. This can, of course, be a real problem for people who, like me, get distracted very easily, since focus and staying on task is a real key to success in life. Goalscape can help you with this. I've started using it, and I'm finding it very useful in both keeping myself focused, but also in breaking down the big projects into smaller steps to ensure that the job gets done, both successfully and as well on time. It's free to get started, and there's some downloadable software with a 14-day free trial period, which gives you the chance to determine if Goalscape is for you. So when you head over to Goalscape, make sure that you let them know that I've sent you, and you can do that by using the link here, stephenbritton.net/recommend/Goalscape. I have put that link into the description to this video, which will make it nice and convenient for you. So give Goalscape a try. CNN has discovered a bombshell revelation about Trump's personal lawyer, Michael Cohen. This revelation puts Trump's whole presidency into question, and as well suggests that a certain fair and balanced network isn't as fair and balanced after all. In fact, this is such a deep and major bombshell that Trump should probably be impeached just for this fact, if nothing else. CNN, of course, got a panel of commentators on the air, and one of them suggested that someone should be fired for failing to disclose this fact, and that it was a major conflict of interest. That bombshell? Well, I hope you're sitting down, because this will knock your socks off and will confirm everything negative that has been said about Donald Trump since Jesus Christ himself was born. Sean Hannity is also Michael Cohen's client. Oh my God, the horror! A lawyer has both the President of the United States and a Fox commentator as clients. And it's a conflict of interest for Hannity to carry on and criticize the Stormy Daniels investigation and the raid on Cohen without disclosing that he is also one of Cohen's clients. A CNN commentator has called, yet again, for Hannity to be fired. All right, now that's out of my system, let's think about this logically for a second here. Hannity didn't disclose that he was Cohen's client because it isn't anyone's damn business. Who cares if Hannity is Cohen's client or not? Whether the FBI was right or wrong to raid Cohen's office is a simple matter of opinion. It doesn't matter if Hannity is Cohen's client or not, nor does it matter if Hannity is close friends with President Trump. Ultimately, what matters here is whether Cohen violated campaign finance laws by paying a porn star hush money to not disclose an affair Trump claims never happened, and that she has herself denied happening as well. And if I stress, it did happen, and she disclosed it, then she is in breach of contract. And if it never happened, why did she then approach the Trump campaign and discuss taking it public? That's called blackmail. Either way, this ends up being more about Cohen and Daniels than Trump, and nothing about Sean Hannity at all. Why Hannity should be fired, according to this CNN commentator, is completely beyond me. Well, in actual fact, it isn't beyond me at all. I know exactly why this guy wants to get Hannity fired. Because Hannity is a conservative. He's influential, and he makes sense. Which, therefore, makes Hannity extremely dangerous to the left wing's political agenda, which is to subjugate and control the population. This just goes to show just how desperate the left is getting as their stranglehold on the population continues to slip right through their grubby, jealous fingers. I'll be right back after this. Starbucks has apologized twice to their customer base and 2 black men who were arrested in one of their stores in Philadelphia. This hasn't been good enough for many members of the black community who took it upon themselves to storm numerous Starbucks locations across North America and make nuisances of themselves, threatening to shut Starbucks down because of this act, which has been dubbed by one local Calgary radio announcer as an overt act of racism. Yeah, I have to agree here. Starbucks has really screwed up by apologizing. 2 guys came into one of their locations, sat down, used table space in the store without buying anything. This is table space that a paying customer could have used, and by using it for even as little as 15 minutes, could have caused Starbucks to lose business. Consider someone comes into Starbucks with the intention of buying a coffee, sitting at a table for a little bit and working on their laptop. But then they discover that no tables are available. So instead of buying that coffee, they turn around and find a different coffee shop down the street. That is potentially what these 2 men may have caused. When one asked to use the restroom and was denied, they were asked to leave. We don't know what the men said between being denied use of the restroom and being asked to leave. All we know is that when they were asked to leave for not buying anything, they refused. When the police arrived, the police asked them to leave 3 times. The men remained steadfast in their refusal to leave. So the police did their jobs appropriately and properly. They arrested the men peacefully and without causing harm to anyone. Frankly, the only thing that was potentially over the top here was the perp walk the men were forced to do as they were removed from the store. In the course of discussing this online, white people have said that they have sat in Starbucks many times without buying anything, used their restrooms, and so on, all without being asked to leave. So was this therefore, was obviously an overt act of racism. I call bull. I'm not calling these people liars. I'm pretty sure they did manage to enter the store, use the Wi-Fi, the restroom, and sit there for a while without buying anything and without being asked to leave. So what? Just because they weren't kicked out doesn't mean that they shouldn't have been kicked out. Nor does it mean that Starbucks is now obligated to never change their policy to allow people to freeload in their own stores from now on. In other words, failure to enforce a rule in the past does not mean that you are free and clear if you violate that rule in the future and the rule is then enforced. Starbucks is not a public library. Their stores are not a park or a public space. They are a business. They are not there for your convenience. They are there to make money. They are not your friend. They are a vendor. You are their customer. If you are not a customer, you have no business being in their store, and it doesn't matter if you are not causing a disturbance. Your very presence, if you aren't a customer, is costing them money in the form of space that could be used by a paying customer, and time in the form of cleaning up from any mess you may happen to make. If you use their restroom, you are using their water, which adds cost to their water bill. Now, none of this has anything to do with the color of somebody's skin, and it has everything to do with that person's actions. These two non-customers, their friend who showed up during their arrest, and the lady who filmed the incident with her camera rather, the protesters in all the other locations and everyone screaming that Starbucks was wrong to call the police on these guys are self-righteous and entitled freeloaders. You should all be ashamed of yourselves. I'm Steve Britton.